You know what? It felt like we were criminals the minute we stepped onto our own porch. That's what my wife Rachel said as those flashing patrol car lights lit up our little lake cabin like a crime scene. And honestly, I couldn't argue with her. Let me back up a sec. I'm Brian, a school counselor from Denver, just a regular guy trying to live a quiet life with my wife, Rachel. She's the tough one, a military lieutenant with 10 years of service under her belt. Sharp as a tack, but with a heart bigger than this whole neighborhood. Last year, she came back from a deployment overseas, physically and emotionally bruised, but with that stubborn fire in her eyes that never quits. We wanted peace, real peace. No hospital visits, no city chaos, no nosy neighbors breathing down our necks. So, I took her to my grandfather's lake cabin, a simple A-frame nestled in the pines, miles from the city, and technically outside the HOA's reach. Or so we thought. Enter Karen, the HOA president. Picture this, a woman in her 60s, helmet blonde hair, driving a pristine white SUV, carrying a clipboard like it's a weapon. From the moment I moved in part-time 2 summers ago, she was on me about everything, the angle of my mailbox, the height of my firewood stack, even how I trimmed my hedges. Nothing was ever good enough. Karen craved control over the houses, the people, the whole damn community. Rachel had never met her, but that all changed the day we came home after her flight. I'd been prepping the cabin all morning, lighting a fire, fluffing pillows, even making her favorite grilled cheese with apple slices and cinnamon. When she arrived, I ran outside, heart pounding, and there she was, in her army jacket and that crooked smile I love. We clung to each other like we'd been apart forever. "You're safe now," I whispered. "I'm starving," she replied. But 5 minutes later, the knock came. Not a friendly knock, but a Karen knock. 3 quick bangs, a pause, then 2 sharp raps, like she was commanding an army. I opened the door to find her standing there, clipboard in hand, arms crossed, eyes locked on Rachel. "This property isn't registered for new occupancy," she snapped. I saw her moving in. "Where are her papers?" Rachel stepped forward. Calm as ice. "She's my wife," I said. Karen scoffed. "You expect me to believe that?" Rachel's voice stayed steady. "I don't need your belief, ma'am. I need you to back off." Karen's nostrils flared. And before we knew it, she was dialing the cops. 15 minutes later, 2 patrol cars showed up, lights flashing, neighbors peeking out their windows. Rachel stood on the porch, arms crossed, watching it all like a stage play. One deputy asked if she lived there and for ID. Calmly, Rachel pulled out her military ID. The deputy's face changed. Suddenly Karen went silent, eyes wide, like she'd seen a ghost. Then came the unexpected twist. A sleek black SUV rolled up, and out stepped Sheriff Dan Peterson, Karen's cousin. The man Karen clearly feared. Dan's presence made the air thicken. Karen's confident act faltered instantly. Dan asked for Rachel's ID, confirmed her rank and service, thanked her quietly for her sacrifice, and then turned to Karen. "You called in a trespassing complaint on a military officer in her own home?" Karen stammered. "I didn't know." Dan cut her off. "You're not the sheriff, Karen. You're HOA president of a voluntary association with no legal jurisdiction here." The room went silent. Rachel stepped forward and laid it out. Karen had no authority, no grounds for harassment, and her actions were illegal intimidation. Karen tried to push back, but Dan shut her down cold. Eventually, the deputies left, the flashing lights died down, and the neighbors retreated. Karen, red-faced, stayed by her SUV, arms folded like a child denied candy. Inside, Rachel slumped onto the couch, exhaustion seeping through her bones. "That's the famous HOA lady you warned me about," I said, half joking. She didn't laugh. "I thought coming home would be hard, didn't expect to be treated like a criminal." I sat beside her. "She's just noise. This cabin, this is yours. Yours and mine." Then a rock thudded against the window. We turned to see a folded note tucked underneath it. This place isn't safe for outsiders. The handwriting wasn't Karen's. Jagged, hurried, anonymous. Rachel's jaw tightened. It's not just Karen, she said quietly. Someone else is watching. We put up trail cameras, motion sensors, anything to feel safe again. But nights were long, and Rachel barely ate her grilled cheese, staring into the fire like the past followed her everywhere. One night, the motion lights clicked on around 2 a.m., and the cameras caught a hooded figure creeping through the trees. The hoodie had a familiar logo, Karen's grandson, Cody. Rachel's voice dropped to a whisper. You don't think I do, I said. Before we could process it, glass shattered. A teenage boy with a crowbar stood in our living room, flanked by a taller man in dark clothes. Rachel, calm but commanding, barked, "Don't move." The intruders froze. The sheriff arrived just in time, cuffed them both, and asked for explanations. Turns out, Karen had sent her own grandson and an accomplice to scare us off. Cody, ashamed, apologized between tears. Derek, the older man, muttered, "I was just doing a favor." Rachel didn't flinch. A favor that involved breaking the law and endangering people. The sheriff made it clear, no more trespassing. Cody was grounded, facing counseling. The danger wasn't just from Karen's clipboard, but a whole undercurrent of fear and control running through the neighborhood. We cleaned up the broken glass and patched the windows. But the cabin didn't feel safe. Then came the real fight. We did our homework. All 117 HOA bylaws printed, highlighted every loophole. Our cabin wasn't even in their jurisdiction. Armed with legal proof and county surveys, we showed up at the next HOA board meeting, Rachel dressed in her crisp army jacket, like a general ready for battle. Karen tried to raise concerns about unauthorized residency, but Rachel stopped her cold. "I live here. This cabin is ours, and your rules don't apply." She laid out the truth, all the harassment, false reports, intimidation, illegal and abuse of power. Gasps filled the room. Karen was speechless. Rachel didn't back down. "You're not a leader. You're a bully." The meeting ended with neighbors quietly coming forward, thanking us for standing up, and even the interim board president looked shaken. Karen never showed up again. Days later, she came alone to apologize and resign from the board. She admitted she'd lost control and was stepping away. But just when we thought it was over, an anonymous email arrived, a screenshot of us on the porch, taken from the woods, with a warning. "You may have won the battle, but the war isn't over." Rachel's military instincts kicked in. We installed more cameras, stayed vigilant. But the stalking wasn't just HOA politics anymore. It was personal. We found old threatening letters from a man Rachel treated in a war zone. A man who believed she abandoned him, obsessed and dangerous. We set a trap with the sheriff's help. One night, he showed up with gasoline, intending to burn down the dock. Rachel called his name, commanding him to stop. Sheriff Dan tackled him before he could strike. As they were taken away, a final note was left from Cody, Karen's grandson, apologizing and offering friendship. It was a sign that even in darkness, some chose kindness. Months later, the HOA was dissolved by a community vote, ending Karen's reign of clipboard terror. Rachel led the charge, petitioning for the end of a broken system that weaponized rules against people. The cabin finally felt like home. One evening, Rachel took off her army jacket, hanging it by the door. "You know what peace really is?" she asked. "It's not the absence of conflict. It's when you stop waiting for someone else to protect it and realize it's your turn." I wrapped my arm around her and smiled. "So what now?" She grinned, leaning against my shoulder. "We fish. We garden. We live in this cabin. It's ours. Finally. And nobody's calling the cops on that."